You know, I'm coming to you, and it's going to be a brief vid. I mean, I know you've heard it over and over again, but I'm just going to give you my opinion after I give you some facts. And it's about Philando Castillie. Remember, I've done a video on him? That hard-working young African American that that cop butchered and shot to death and shot him and killed him in cold blood. And I'm just going to read you, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of this district so you can, remember, bring it to your remembrance. On July 6, 2016, Philando Castillie was fatally shot by Officer, what is this, Geronimo Yanez in St. Anthony, Minnesota. A police officer, after being pulled over in Falcon Heights, a suburb of St. Paul. Castillie was driving a car with his girlfriend Diamond Reynolds and her 4-year-old daughter as passengers when he was pulled over by Yanez and another officer. According to Reynolds, after being asked for his license and registration, Castillie told the officer he was licensed. Remember, he told the officer he was licensed. Let me repeat that. He told the officer he was licensed to carry a weapon and he had one in his pants. Reynolds said Castillie was shot while reaching for his ID after telling Yanez he had a gun permit and was armed. The officer shot Castillie 7 times. Look, this is happening quite regularly. You notice this? I mean, these police really have it in for black men or black people, period. This is just ridiculous. You see this? And they acquitted this clown, this murderer, this. But he who keeps Israel, praise God, neither slumbers nor sleeps. This man should have been put in prison for the rest of his life. That was cold-blooded murder. But see, now I'm going to tell you something. This, for every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction. This only calls for more violence. The country is separated enough as it is. The last thing we need is another idiotic, bloodthirsty cop. And this is the first time they stopped this poor guy. He was a hard worker, a law-abiding man, and what I was pleased about, even his white co-workers stood up for him. They were shocked and appalled at this. This is disgusting. It seemed like there's an all-out war on African Americans and people of color. I'm going to read you a little bit more. Diamond Reynolds live streamed a video on Facebook in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. It shows her interacting with the armed officer as a mortally injured Castillie lies slumped over, mourning slightly, and his left arm and side bloody. And I'm just going to read you a little bit more. You know, this is Yanez. Officer Yanez was identified by the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension as the officer who was shot Castillie. The officer involved in the traffic stop was identified. The other officer was Joseph Kaiser. I think that's the way you pronounce this. Who was described as, that's enough of this. I just want to, I'm going to give you a little bit more on the synopsis. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis on the end of this. Castillie was pulled over as part of a traffic stop by Yanez and Kaiser in Falcon Heights, Minnesota, a suburb of St. Paul. Castillie and Reynolds were returning from shopping at a grocery store. Earlier that evening, Castillie had dinner with and a haircut with St. Anthony police officer patrolling. They stopped him because they said it was a robbery earlier. In an earlier incident, if you read the full report, it's ridiculous. One report said he's seen the man's eyes. How the hell you go see the guy's eye at night? And remember, his girlfriend and the 10-year-old daughter was in the car looking at all this. How do you expect people to relate to police and trust them when you're shooting and killing people? There's even reports now some women have been raped by cops. All they did was, don't you do that now. Don't you do that now. We have to let you go home with a few weeks full paid vacation. That's what it is. Not all cops are bad, but it has been said the cops and the Klan go hand in hand. Now this is a hard-working man. This wasn't a gang-banging dope slinger. And again, this wasn't his first stopped by a cop. You understand that this man, well, let's face it, was harassed before. This kind of interactions need to stop. And we need men, black men, and other people of color, and right to stand up and stop this. These police should have some accountability. They should have to account for this murdering. But you very rarely see a cop uh, 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 get charged with anything after they just cold-bloodedly murder people. Now we understand a mistake. But this man, he told him. And another thing, where is the NRA? Do you see how the life of black Americans and people of color are in America? It's a scam. Do you understand that? Most of it, from the time they lock you up, they work in these private prisons, to the bail bond industry. And you see what Jay-Z did, much prop for him for getting all those people out. You were locked down in prison, in a jail, a county jail. And Rikers Island is a city prison. That's all that is. I know right where Rikers Island is. Locked them up. They haven't even been to trial, and they're separated from their family because they know they're poor. And remember, if you're black, these big companies are not going to hire you as quick. A black man or woman or person of color with a college degree, especially a black man, and you get a white man with a record, the white guy will get the job. The white man with the record will get the job 99.9% times quicker than the black man with a college degree. I'm getting my tongue all twisted. Let me calm down. This is upsetting. This is a hardworking individual. Do you know that there's not that many black men left? Immigration is a complete disaster. With the NRA, what about them? Anybody else? They all over the screen, and they let's face it, they have a lot of these politicians in their pocket. These gun lobbyists. You see, when a black person had a permit, you don't hear a sound out of them. That goes to show you what these people think. What we should be doing is complete and total separation of the races until we build up our house and our economy and educate our people more, because you're not learning anything in their schools. Look at what they teach you. This is a tragedy that no one is talking about. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Look at the Chinese. Look at Chinatown. You don't see them up and down the street marching. I know they're not the descendants of slaves, but the things they did it themselves. Let me tell you, there's nothing worse than a phony self-appointed civil rights leader. And that's mostly what you have today. They just put a target on the back of African Americans and said Negroes and Negro, just shoot them down. And a person of color, it's terrible. And I don't care whether the officer was Spanish or not. The thing is, this guy was a cop. He knew that man had a permit and a gun, and he shot him down anyway. And he got away with it. Or it appears. But like I said, he who keeps Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, will make him pay. He's going to pay for that. He can lie all he wants to. But this is just setting the country more apart than ever before. Nobody's going to trust the police. And black people aren't the only one they're doing this to. Let's face it, all cops are not bad. You have a lot of good people out there, good policemen, but they need to stand up and tell and inform their overseers about these bad, murderous cops. I'm going to tell you something. A lot of the drugs, especially when I was coming up in New York, those drugs weren't even brought there by black or Spanish people. White people brought those drugs in, and you'd be surprised who they were. Folks, we need prayer like never before. What we need is an economic boycott. And I'm going to finish this off by saying this. Look, 150 years ago, when Lincoln freed the slave, the Emancipation Proclamation, you had 4 million black slaves, or roughly about 200,000 were free. We had less than 1/2 of America's wealth. Here we are 150 years later, 40 million black Americans. You still have less than 1/2 of America's wealth. We have not moved economically in 150 years. All of our heroes, we're told, I'll put it this way, the hero that we worship are put there by white people, just like most of these self-appointed civil rights leaders. It's time to separate. Let's work on our house. How in the heck you going to integrate? Why would you integrate with the people that don't want anything to do with you? And then a lot of you are ashamed to be black. I thank God I'm black. They should have asked my uncle. He was December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. A Pearl Harbor vet. A lot of my relatives were World War II vets. In every war from World War One, even before, we have documented facts. But I knew my uncles and cousins too who were in World War II and came home and got treated. But well, that's another story. We need help now, and we're gonna tear this country apart. Anybody see what Cuba just said? You have to watch out in grocery stores. Your kids have to watch out in school. Hell, anything could happen. Especially the way the current state of Washington, D.C., a catastrophe. This hatred and just, oh my God, it's just terrible. Be careful out there, folks, and watch your children because it's extremely dangerous. And pray, folks. Pray like never before. God bless, because we really need it.